Now, after a 3-month break due to the pandemic, the Premier League resumed. And yesterday there was a big game. Liverpool away to Everton at Goodison Park. Liverpool need 5 points. They've got 8 games left because last night they failed to get the job done. And I'm joined now by Liam Brady and John Giles to discuss Liverpool and the other games, some of them very important in relation to the top 4 that were played over the weekend. John, the first thing to say about the Liverpool-Everton match was in an empty stadium. It didn't have the aggression and intensity, I felt, that you'd usually associate with a Liverpool derby.
Well, definitely not, Eamon, but it was very much more subdued than I expected to do, even in the situation that we're in.
Yeah.
Actually, it was the least passionate match I saw of all the games I've seen.
Yes.
Believe it or not. I was just amazed at it, to be quite honest. First of all, from Liverpool's point of view, for Salah not to be starting, Eamon, because we've always said before, especially you and Liam, Eamon, that, they're a trio in one.
Yes.
That they all need each other to play.
Yeah.
And he put the young lad in. But I thought I was amazed at it. I thought there was... I can understand the not having the passion because of the crowd, but I was amazed at the lack of passion from it last night.
Yeah. Liam, I thought perhaps the lack of passion was because Liverpool controlled the football for so long, for long periods, without really ever threatening to penetrate. I thought Ancelotti set his team up quite well.
Well, that's typically Italian, is a typically Italian way of playing when he knows the opposition probably man for man are a better team than his, so he played it very tight. He didn't leave any space behind for Liverpool players to get behind them, and just invited Liverpool on really and tried to hit them on the break, and they very nearly did,
Yeah.
I thought Tom Davies should have really scored that one. It was a great chance to clip the post. It was a good save in the end. But Everton, set up to bring Liverpool on, hit them on the counter-attack, and actually Everton created the better chances on the day.
Yeah. John, Robertson missing from left-back for Liverpool, and Mo Salah, of course. The other factor I thought in the match, I mean, when you look at Liverpool's attacking flair, a lot of it starts with the fullbacks. Trent Alexander-Arnold getting forward, Robertson getting forward. Now, Everton put a man to mark Alexander-Arnold, a young kid from the academy, Anthony Gordon, 19 years of age. He never got a kick at the ball, but he did stop Alexander-Arnold getting forward.
Yeah, well, but when you do that, and then you're leaving it elsewhere.
Yeah,
like if you're using the opposition to do that and get the fullbacks, then you're leaving yourself open elsewhere. It wasn't just the tactics I felt. It was just I just can't understand the lack of passion in it. I know it's down with the crowd not being there. I understand that. But of the matches I've seen, again, I'm repeating myself, there was much more like an ordinary game than the Liverpool derby was.
Yes.
Last night. And it wasn't. I don't think it was just tactics. I think it was just, I don't know what it was. Even Klopp didn't seem to be as passionate as he normally is in this particular game.
Yeah, Liam, they're in a curious position, Liverpool. They need 5 points now from the next 8 games. And, I mean, City are out of sight almost, and they've got to play each other. City have to go to Chelsea on Thursday night this week. So it's a bit unreal for Liverpool, isn't it?
Well, I think they're just coasting their way to the title aim, and I think I think Klopp demonstrated that yesterday, but not playing Salah. I don't know whether he has fitness issues or something like that. But you would have thought if Klopp was wanting to get the thing over and done with quickly, that Salah would be in the team. But I think he sees this as a coasting exercise. He'll get there when it happens, and it's not going to be a problem, is it?
No.
It could be a couple of games, or it could take 4. So, but they've done the hard work. They've been the best team by far this season, and they'll do the job. But we're in surreal times, aren't we? And there was it was like a practice match yesterday, really, wasn't it? With all the water breaks and then substitutions and things like that. Most of the games I've watched have got a feeling like they're practice matches, to be honest.
Yeah, John, I agree with Liam about the absence of intensity from most games, but you don't. I mean, you pointed to games you saw, say Spurs, Manchester United, where you felt there was as much intensity. I must say, without a crowd, I think the levels of intensity drop even by 5-10%, which at the highest level in any sport, that 5 or 10% is what makes the difference.
Well, I don't know whether it was dropped by 5% when I was watching it, I mean, but I saw a lot of passion in the games. I thought they were very, very good. And I didn't see any lack of intensity in it. Really, I didn't anyway. It could well be that I haven't noticed it, but I mean, the match last night was particularly so. Now, there's no doubt Liverpool are going to go on and win it, Eamon, and I can understand that they're there. But knowing them being such a professional club,
yes,
I thought, well, go out and finish it off. What way better to finish it than your big opponents in Merseyside and get it done? There was certainly a lack of intensity from Liverpool's point of view. Everything you expect to do what they did, which was to sit back and hit them on the break, but it wasn't anywhere near what Liverpool were doing this year. And I know there's no doubt about them winning the thing, but I think I watched the match at Newcastle. I watched all the matches, the Manchester United match, and I was amazed with the intensity in the games that I've seen.
Right.
With the crowd not being there.
Yeah, I mean, Liam, when you look at Liverpool, a lot of their attacking play is from the fullbacks, releasing the fullbacks. The other feature last night was Minamino came in. This is a guy they bought for $7 million from Red Bull Salzburg. He looked a bit of a lightweight, so they didn't really pack much punch up front. But one of the things that Ancelotti did, he played a young kid, as I said, Anthony Gordon. He's only a kid. He played him basically as a man marker for Trent Alexander-Arnold. But nobody knows better than a great Italian coach how to set up a team to defend.
Well, you know, they had the two best assists for goals. One was marked, as you said, man for man, by the young kid. Trent Alexander stopped him getting forward, and Robertson wasn't playing.
Yeah,
a lot of Liverpool's threat comes from those two players. And you know, Ancelotti is no fool, as we know, and he decided, well, he was going to stop Trent Alexander from getting forward, from getting those good crosses in, and he did it very, very well. But Robertson, as we've already mentioned, is a big miss for Liverpool. He gives equally as much threat down the left-hand side.
Yes.
The Minamino up front was he looked a little bit lost, but you know, it's early days for him yet. He hasn't played many games for the team. Probably him and Firmino are the same kind of player. He's a kind of a target man that holds on to it and brings players into it, and to play the two of them together probably didn't work, and I think that's why Oxlade-Chamberlain come on quite early, didn't he?
Yeah.
But no, Ancelotti did a job, and the intensity of the game was lacking. And I would agree somewhat with John that some of the games I've seen, particularly Manchester United, Spurs, was a very, very good game in that respect.
Yeah, I agree. John, the Spurs-Manchester United game had an edge to it, as you'd expect, given Mourinho's sort of, association with United, and just those two clubs have such a history together. And Paul Pogba came off the bench. He drew a penalty from Eric Dyer. What did you make of United's performance, John? Well,
I thought they played well in the second half, Eamon. I think Spurs seemed to get tired, particularly up front. They played well in the second half. I think Dyer. Roy Keane had a go at the lads at half time.
He did, yeah.
He could have had a bigger go at Dyer, Eamon. How he allows Pogba to dance past him with only a yard to spare. No, I'm not taking anything away from Pogba. Good luck to him. But this fella's an English international. He's
yeah.
only got a yard to go down the outside of him, and he lets him go past him.
Yeah.
And very nearly gave a penalty away. But I think overall it was a fair result.
Yeah.
I mean, the Manchester United goal was poor. Again, the goalkeeper's at fault, Eamon. You know, there was a lot of mistakes made up in the particular goal. But I think overall it was a fair result. You know, United came back into it well.
Yeah.
And got the penalty that they deserved in the second half.
Yeah, Roy Keane rant at half-time, Liam, it's nothing new, but he was talking about De Gea, Maguire, and Shaw, the fullback. He blamed the three of them collectively, but he reserved his madder comments for De Gea. He said, "I'd make him get a taxi back to Manchester. I wouldn't let him back on the coach. I'd have punched him." And that was just for starters. He's good.
Well, I think he was serious as well. I mean, that was the funny thing about watching Roy Keane. I think he was deadly serious. But I think you know, you cut the hysteria away about how he said it. And actually, what he said is pretty much spot on.
It was.
De Gea has been overrated for the last 18 months. He's made some horrendous mistakes. And I think Roy Keane said, "I'm fed up with this goalkeeper."
He
and,
did.
you know, if Henderson was at Manchester United rather being at Sheffield United at the moment, maybe Solskjaer would be tempted to change him, you know.
Yeah.
But De Gea definitely has lost a lot of form. You know, if we go back 3-4 years, he was probably for 2-3 seasons on a consecutively Manchester United's best player. But I think he's had a bit of stick when he's playing in goal for Spain, and he looks like he's lost that bit of confidence, Eamon.
Yes.
And certainly the first goal, the Spurs goal, he should have definitely saved it.
Yeah, he should have saved it.
Roy Keane was right to have a go at Shaw. You know, it was a casual header, wasn't it? And then he runs out of position. So, you know, cut the hysteria away from what Roy Keane, how he's saying it. He's actually explaining it very, very well, and he's probably as good a pundit as we've seen for quite a while. Certainly, I'd have him in front of Neville and Jamie Carragher.
Right, John. I agree with Liam. I'm sure I know you do, because we were talking to each other during the match. Maguire was also under fire. He looked slow and awkward, big lad. Shaw could have taken it on his chest instead of heading it down to a Spurs player. And De Gea, as Liam said, he was player of the season 3 consecutive seasons before he got his $350,000 a week contract. It's a mysterious collapse in confidence and even in effort, it seems.
Well, I think the effort would still be there, Eamon. But it's amazing with goalkeepers. Like, they're a breed apart, and there's no doubt. I think it was the mistake he made in the World Cup, wasn't it, Eamon, from a free kick?
Yeah.
That started that. As you say, he was goalkeeper. He was player of the year for Manchester United for 3 years, and deservedly so. He was absolutely brilliant. But we don't know what's in anybody's head, Eamon, you know, and usually with goalkeepers, it's usually not technique. You know, if you look at a footballer, left winger, it can be technique. But goalkeepers, obviously, they have their own technique. But the ball coming off his arms and going for the ball the way he did the other day, it has to be a mind thing.
Yeah.
And I must say, though, when I see a player in his situation like that, I'd have a lot of sympathy for him, Eamon. We've all been players before, and we've all made mistakes, you know, and I'd have a lot of sympathy for him. And it's up to the manager now whether he wants to make a change there or not. It's more likely that he will. He can get that young boy Henderson back into the team.
Now,
back to the club.
Liam, I'd like to ask you and John both about this new Manchester United player, Fernandes. There's been a lot of talk about him. He's come from Portugal. He's looked a useful player, but people have been comparing him. The hype machine has been talking about him being the next Paul Scholes and all of that stuff. What do you make of him?
I think he's a bit flashy, Eamon. I think he's sometimes tries things that are not on, and he tries to. He's a bit of a showboater. Do you know what I mean?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, but he has shown maybe more confidence in that midfield role than many of the Manchester United players.
Yes.
So I think he has led the way a bit in playing with confidence, and he is very, very good at set pieces, and he can play a really, really good pass. But I think just at times he wants to show off a bit, and he needs to cut that out of his game. He cuts that out of his game and concentrates on getting the ball into the forwards and in a constructive way without being flashy. I think he could make even more of a contribution. I would just say, I'd give him 7 out of 10 for what he's done so far, Eamon, but he could easily be a 9 out of 10 if he cut that showboating out of his play.
Yeah. John Pogba came on at half-time. He dinked one delightful volley pass in the second half, which they made much of after the game. And, of course, he drew the penalty from Eric Dyer. And I thought it was more a case, as you did, I think, of Dyer being an idiot than Pogba doing anything special. You'd think at 100 million, and given all the talk there is about him, he'd need to be starting games, and he'd need to be a game changer as a player. He's a long way from that.
Well, he hasn't been at Manchester United, Eamon, and especially over the last 12 months where he looked like he was looking to get away. Things might have changed now. You know, the whole scene has changed at Manchester United. Real Madrid or one of the big clubs might not want him now. They mightn't be able to afford him.
Yeah.
So I think he might start to play. He has ability, Eamon. I mean, what he did with Dyer was very, very good. Dyer was very bad in the way he did it.
Yeah.
But he was very good. I mean, he is capable of doing amazing things on the pitch. But first of all, he's got to be committed to the club.
Yes.
And he hasn't been committed to the club for at least 18 months. So that's in that sense. I think you'll see him playing better now, Eamon, than he has played since he went to the club.
Yeah.
Because I think there's nothing open to him now in the way that there was 12 months ago. And could I just mention Fernandes, Eamon?
Yes.
Yeah, because I agree with him. I think he's a talented guy, Eamon.
Yeah.
But he's not a midfield player. I know I've said this before on your program.
You said it to me.
He's not a midfield.
The first time you saw him. You said it to me the first match we saw him.
He's not a midfield player. He's always ahead, and when he gets the ball, he uses it well. I see him as a goal-scoring, goal-making midfield player, Eamon.
Yeah.
But he doesn't initiate things. And what's happening with the press now, you see, I saw it at the weekend. They said there's going to be a big combination now between Pogba and Fernandes. I'm not so sure about that. And actually, one of the papers said, well, you see the connection? Pogba got the penalty and Fernandes scored it.
Yeah.
For heaven's sake, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What a combination that is.
Yeah.
But that's what the paper's going. And I think the paper have latched onto Fernandes, Eamon, because the results have improved.
They have, yeah.
Since he's gone to the club. And when that happens with any player, they're going to put it down to that particular player. Now, he has been a help, but not in the way that I think he could be, which is as a midfield player. He picks out a good pass. He will get a few goals for them. But if they're in a match where they need to get a grip of the ball in the middle of the field, he won't be there.
No. He's a confident lad, Liam, isn't he?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
we've seen a lot of players go to...
I agree with John. I think maybe him and Pogba in the midfield will be, one flashy player too many, Pogba did look interested when he came on,
Yes.
far more interested than we've seen him in some games. And we all know he's a talent, but I would agree with John. I'm not too sure they're going to complement one another.
No. Just a quick word about the special one, Liam. He looks like the team he's got there, not good enough, really. They're not going to be in the top 4. And, I mean, when they got the goal, went in front, they never went to kill the game with a second goal. I thought they dropped deep. And he's always more content, isn't he, to protect a lead than to go and increase it.
Yeah, I think that was very obvious. Once they got the goal, the longer the game went on, they just tried to pack out the midfield. They didn't they didn't really threaten United after that. I thought Harry Kane looked sluggish, looked poor.
Yeah.
If he gets his fitness back and gets his sharpness back, that will obviously help things. But I think there are a few points light as regards getting into the Champions League. But they have West Ham coming up, and the way West Ham are playing, Spurs should win that match, and they have an outside chance of those Champions League positions. But I would bet more on Wolves finishing above Spurs, or Wolves making it a real go at getting in the Champions League rather than Spurs, Eamon.
Yeah, John, I know we both watched the Wolves-West Ham game and also the Chelsea game yesterday at Aston Villa. Wolves and Chelsea. Chelsea, with their win yesterday at Villa Park, they go 5 points clear of United in the race for a Champions League spot. And Wolves are very impressive, aren't they? They beat West Ham 2-0, but they are such an impressive team.
Sorry, go on in.
Well, they played 46 games this season before the break, because they started in the qualifying stages of the Europa League, which they're still in. And he doesn't have a big squad, but I think they're a lovely team to watch.
Yeah, but I'll tell you one thing, he never moans about it.
Never.
You know what I mean? Never says, we've got another match coming up, and we've got so many. It never gets on. I think he just tells the players, look, we go, and we're having a go. We don't want to hear anything about too many games. And they've done extremely well. And they have the players, Eamon. I think they've done a great job at Wolves. Not only did they get promotion, but when they were getting promotion, they bought players, obviously, that were going to be good enough when they got into the Premiership. As we see with a lot of clubs, whether it be, Bournemouth or any of these teams that come up, that are in the bottom with Norwich and that, they're good enough to get up. But when they get up, they're really, really struggling. Yeah. Wolves pursued another policy, which was to buy a lot and spend a lot of money when they were in the Championship, and it's paid off for them in a big, big way. And the way they're going, they'll have enough money to get more players for next year.
Yeah. And
they could do anything this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they did finish in a Champions League place. They've got the players to do it. Whether they run out of steam or not remains to be seen. But they've done a really, really big job there.
Yeah, and Liam Traore came on as a sub at West Ham. He starts sometimes. He's a winger, but every time I see him, he's getting better and better and better. And he made the first goal with a beautiful cross. He terrified the West Ham defence.
Yeah, well, I think the coach at Wolves has used him brilliantly, Eamon. You know, sometimes he doesn't play him from the start, and when the opposition might be feeling the pace a bit, he brings him on, and he can really tear them apart. And I've seen him do that on a few times. I think what he's added to his game at Wolves is end product. He's making goals and he's scoring goals.
Yes.
He scored 2 or 3 really, really important goals for Wolves this season. He's a tremendous player, tremendous player to watch. Very exciting.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that has the pace. Sometimes when you have the pace, you don't always have the end product. When you think of a player maybe like Walcott,
yes,
or Iwobi at Everton, they're 2 lads that have blinding pace, but there's no end product. But this fella's got it, and he's made a huge difference to Wolves' season this year round.
Yeah. Now I want to ask both of you.
Eamon, I think he was at Villa.
Yeah, I don't know where he came from.
But he did nothing at Villa. He was hopeless. Like he's one of those brainless wingers in that.
Yes.
But the change in him has been amazing.
Yeah, and he might be a player that an even bigger club will want to buy, because he, as Liam says, he's getting his head up and picking out crosses. And
Eamon, he was a kid at Barcelona. I think he comes from Cameroon. He was a kid at Barcelona. We played when I was in charge of the youth policy at Arsenal. We played them in the Champions League match, the 19 Champions League match, and he killed us that day. He was so fast and so strong. And then he got a move to Villa, and he was in and out of Villa. He was inconsistent. There was some games he did well, and then I think he moved on to Middlesbrough, didn't he? And I think Wolves got him from Middlesbrough, and they really turned him into a guy whose end product is fantastic at the moment.
A guy to watch. John, I want to talk to you and Liam about Chelsea. They went 1-0 down to Villa, unfortunately, just before half-time. They dominated the possession, and they came out in the second half and got the job done. Everything I see about Lampard, I find impressive, John. And the way his team is playing. Maybe they're short of goals. Maybe they're not as good at the back as they ought to be. But he's got them into the top four. They look set to have Champions League football. He's been allowed to sign Tino Werner from Leipzig, who's the German striker they all want for next season. I think he looks like he might become one of the good coaches, the English coaches in the game.
Yeah, the signs are good, Eamon. You know, he talks sense. That's a start anyway.
Absolutely.
He's got them playing, obviously, in a certain way. He hasn't quite got the players to fit the way he wants them to really play. But I think he's been very impressive.
Yes.
I mean, the game on Saturday was an amazing game. I mean, I don't know if you saw, but they killed Villa. They were killing Villa.
Yeah.
You know, and then they I think the only attack Villa had, they scored. But then it was difficult for them in the second half because obviously Villa could sit back. But they did the job. They got the job done. They kept playing all the time. They didn't panic in any way. And I think he'd be relieved. I don't think he was too pleased after the match the way they conceded a goal in that. But that's. But I think so far he hasn't put a foot wrong.
Right, Liam. One player in particular I want to ask you about is Olivier Giroud. He was at Arsenal for so long, never really established himself in the first team or in long term. But he scored a winner, and he's an interesting player, and he's a difficult player, I'd say, to play against. He leads the line well. He's intelligent. What's your take on him?
Well, yes, Eamon, yeah. He was at Arsenal for a long time, and I have to say he wouldn't have been my favourite player. You know, I think he can be awkward. He's not a prolific goal scorer. But, you know, I think Lampard didn't fancy him at the outset of this season. He hardly played. And I think he had a few problems. I think Tammy Abrahams, who started very, very well, lost his form a bit. He couldn't find a goal, and I think he kind of said, "Well, I'll stick Giroud in," and he's actually worked.
Yes,
it's actually worked for Chelsea, you know, and he is a player that is very strong in the air. He leads the line well, and let's not forget, like, he's a World Cup winner.
He is, yeah.
Didier Deschamps played him probably in every match in the World Cup. He never scored a goal for a centre forward for the World Cup winning team, which is quite amazing. But he is that big target man that gives, takes the weight off the other forwards around him, and he did very well against Villa at the weekend. I saw the match. I thought Lampard has a lot of talent in that squad. I think that was demonstrated when he brought the subs on. I think they made all the difference, and they're going to get stronger. And if you picked, a London team that was going to maybe challenge, it would be Spurs, or it would be Chelsea in front of Spurs and in front of Arsenal.
Yeah, Arsenal, very disappointing result again, Liam, at Brighton, and I saw an interview with Mikel Arteta after the game. He was quite sort of outspoken against his own players and against their attitude.
Well, did you see the game, Eamon? No?
I saw the second half of it.
Yeah, I watched it, yeah. And, I thought the guy who scored the winning goal for Brighton, Mopé, was absolutely right in his interview after the game. The Arsenal team have no humility. They're all really big time.
Yeah.
Aubameyang, once again, I know he's... There's talk about his contract. He's only got a year to go after this season. What's he going to do and things like that. But that's the second game on the trot. He just strolled around. Guendouzi, who got into trouble at the end of the match because he lost his head, is one of these players that keeps pointing and keeps shouting the odds, but he doesn't actually do anything while he's on the pitch.
Yes.
And we've lost... 3 players in 2 games, probably for the rest of the season. We've got the situation with David Luiz. You know, the club is in a real mess.
And Ozil was on the bench.
Well, I don't know whether he just took him down to Brighton just to make him,
Suffer.
Suffer, exactly, Eamon. I think he's a rotten apple in the barrel, and we've got to get him out somehow,
Yeah.
But when you're earning 350 grand a week and nobody else wants you, it's very difficult to get the player out, isn't it?
A bit of dynamite might help. John, a final question, John. Leeds, they looked sure to be promoted to the Premier League, but they lost 2-0 again. And West Brom, who are looking like another of your former clubs, are top with Leeds. They only drew a game. They probably should have won.
Yeah.
Leeds' problem, they can't score goals, you tell me.
Can't score goals. I mean, they were absolutely brilliant in the general play.
Yeah.
They totally outplayed. They killed Cardiff. But they haven't got a goal scorer.
Right.
And there's no finish to them. Like
right.
their general play was excellent. Really excellent. But,
have you got a message for all those long-suffering Leeds fans? They're still about 6 points clear of the third team.
Yeah, they play Fulham the next match.
Right. At Leeds.
Biggie. Like they could go. Like I think they could have gone 10 points clear the other day. But anyway, they didn't. But they could, if they beat Fulham, they're like 10 points ahead again of Fulham, who are the big challenger for them. So they can still do it, but you just watching them is frustrating because they play so well without finishing the teams off. And then, to be fair too, they didn't defend very well for the Cardiff goal. So that's a recipe for disaster there, Eamon. If you're not making chances and then you concede relatively easy, I thought they did anyway. But if you watch them just like for the first half and that, you say this is a really good team and they look really good. But again, it goes back to, I think, what's happened all season and last season, Eamon. They don't have the finishers to finish the teams off when they're on top.
Okay, John.
Eamon,
yes,
Eamon.
Leslie.
Can I just ask John if he saw Arsenal?
I saw Arsenal, Liam, and I think the thing I put down for Eamon's programme today was trouble. They're in big trouble. Right?
Okay.
You're right about Aubameyang. It's the worst position the club can be in. He doesn't. He's like Pogba has been for the last. He's only worried about his own position, Liam. And I don't know what position he's in at the moment. Whether he wants to get away. We know he's on a free transfer next year. His contract is running out. And when you get lads in that situation, Liam, it's disaster. And you got Ozil in a similar situation. So Arteta, I wouldn't be surprised if Arteta quit that job. To be honest. I think at the moment it's impossible.
It's a poison chalice, isn't it?
Job.
It's a poison chalice,
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll be worse at home, Liam, when the home fans...
we got Southampton away. We got Southampton away in the week, and you just can't see where points are going to come from the way they're playing.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry about that, Eamon. I just wanted to ask John.
We're not in any hurry here, Liam, and it's great to talk to you and to John. Thanks to John and to Liam.